And we should be live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special episode of For the Minions, where we're going to be talking about the different heroes that Predecessor and Overprime have in common. Then we're going to piss everybody off by picking our favorites, and we're also going to do polls in the chat so you guys can pick who you think did them better. And it's going to be weird because these games are very different, so the different implementations are strange. Jelly, you have a question already.
Why is your chat fucked up?
It'll be good whenever we get to the actual conversation.
Okay. And then also, I'm just gonna go out the gate and pick a hot and spicy pick right now.
Oh,
already we're just going out the gate. Xena is better in Predecessor, hands down.
Xena's way better in Predecessor, yeah.
Dude, Xena's garbage in OP compared to Pred. It's wild.
Jedi, how you doing?
Oh, dude, I am doing wonderful. I'm doing way better than my daughter, who got her wisdom teeth, all 4 of them pulled out today. She is on the struggle train. But no,
she's real dumb now. So, I mean, their 4 wisdoms are gone. You know, that's a
no
lot of wisdom to lose. Her character
like,
sheet, the 4 wisdom, like it's gone right off the bat, right there.
Minus 4 wisdom. F's in chat, dude. No, I'm doing great. I'm doing super good, dude. I'm excited to. I said it in the pre-chat. I said I'm having an adult beverage, and I'm super excited to piss on the fan base of both these games, but like in a fun way, not an R. Kelly
not an R. Kelly way.
Yeah. So, no, it's supposed to be in all good fun. I hope that we manage to keep it more in good fun, but I can't wait to talk shit about both and hype up the ones that are deserving of so, because I think there are some really fun builds.
So we're going to go alphabetical order tonight. The ones they have in common are Countess, Dekker, Feng Mao, Gadget, Gideon, Grux, Howitzer, Kallari, Khaimera, Lieutenant Belica, Murdoch, Muriel, Narbash, Rampage, Sevarog, Sparrow, Steel, and the Fae. Now, for Predecessor fans, unfortunately, we're not going to be covering Crunch, Drongo, or Rector because they are not in Overprime. And Overprime fans, we will not be covering Twin Blast, Kwang, Shinbi, Revenant, Aurora, FaZe, Seraph, Wraith, or Xena because they are not in Predecessor. And Xena, that's going to be an interesting conversation whenever we compare Xena to Huntress. But we're going to go in alphabetical order, and we're going to start with what I think is a pretty easy one, which is going to be Countess.
Oh, okay.
What?
When he said easy one, I was like, well, this could go. He could be lying here. It could be like an easy one. It could be no.
I think this is a pretty easy one.
You guys have seen that they nerfed her in Pred this last hotfix.
I think is warranted since FTM.
Well, you played her a little bit, and you were popping off
a lot more since FTM, and I think these nerfs are right on the money.
I'm going to say this, and this is not to derail too much, but because I know we might want to talk about it in an actual full FTM. I'm surprised they went after her early on, and they still didn't take another glance at Howitzer.
To me, this wasn't a full patch. This is a post-release bug, like you see Riot do all the time on champion releases for League.
Mm-hmm.
Is post-release patch of this person is overtuned out the gate. We're just quickly nerfing them before we do a full patch later, adjusting everything around.
I think personally, I think it's 100% very easy. This is a softball pitch. Predecessor just did her way better than Overprime. I do love Overprime Countess. I've been playing the shit out of Overprime Countess. One of the better things about Overprime's Countess is they put a little more junk in her trunk and put a little more up top too. So is
that a gauge that we can use? Is how aesthetically
junk in the trunk?
Yeah.
I guess a little bit.
On the
Rampage wins. Overprime is Rampage. 100%.
I'm way more aesthetic there for sure,
dude. Nobody has the ass that Rampage has. I'm sorry.
I'm quick to agree with you. I've played both a lot. I do think that the Predecessor version is she feels more fluid in the kit to execute. I don't know about visually necessarily, but I do think that if we're talking just kit, I think she's overall better in Predecessor. I really like, even with the nerfs, I like how much healing and sustain she has. I think that makes her a little bit more viable in a lot more of these team fights and stuff like that, where she maybe can get in, assassinate, survive possibly and get out. It's still depending on CC and all that stuff and how much she gets focused, she might still get blown up when she goes in. But I think those changes are in the right direction to focus her on being an assassin, right? Because your main source of stacks are from getting involved and getting kills as fast as you possibly can. And so I think if you're doing that and playing her in that way, you're going to see how much fun she is, because you're going to just blow everybody up. But yeah, I think she's great. I wish that her visuals were a little bit better. Like, her E goes way farther out than the wave of that red blood or whatever leads you to expect, because the blood it goes out is kind of initially fast and then it kind of slow dissipates, but it doesn't reach its full length at the same time that you're taking damage from it. So it gives a kind of a weird off. So I think if they update that, and I actually gave that feedback to the devs, and they said that they're going to take a look at it and see if they can do something about it. But that's just my initial feeling. What about you, Jelly?
Predecessors, Countess, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I played a handful of games on Overprime's Countess, specifically jungle, right? I'm not a big laner, I'm a jungler. And I've played a handful of games as Predecessors Countess in the jungle, and 100 times Countess feels better in Predecessor.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like the delay after her abilities. I talked about this with Mangus a little bit earlier. The delay after her abilities is practically non-existent in Predecessor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That you cast one of your abilities and the next one is coming out the second you press the button, and that feels incredible. It feels like ability queuing without having ability queuing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a good way to circumvent that issue by just making the delay after cast next to nothing. And her blink actually does something damage wise, more so in the jungle than like Countess blink in Overprime's jungle is a waste of an ability. You're actually losing damage by blinking to a jungle camp. Whereas in Predecessor, I believe it does 3 times damage to jungle camps to incentivize you to use it on jungle camps. And so, and it's really fast. It doesn't make you lose damage. It does a lot of damage by itself. All in all, I think Predecessor's Countess is just, it's more fun to me. I think Countess has been the thing that's making me want to play Predecessor. And I have never been a Countess player. So that's its own facet. But also that it's the thing drawing me into Predecessor right now is like, if I can play Countess jungle, I'm so in. Like, where do I sign? And I think that's hugely beneficial for them.
Yeah, I think, like Jelly pointed out, it's just the flow of the abilities that I think Predecessor has done better than Countess. I like some of the changes that they made to like her ultimate giving a health back. Her E always giving you health back, no matter if you kill a target or not. It's kind of nice. Those are nice little quality of life changes for her, but it's mainly that flow. Like, there's been so many times at Overprime where I've dove on somebody, unload my entire kit, but my E didn't go off, even though I know that I hit it. Something I've noticed since I've been playing her so much, if you fire her E forward and then immediately pop a 180, the animation goes off, it goes on cooldown, does 0 damage, not even the minions. And it's like, what the, like, there's a lot of weird things going on with her NOP. Also, I timed it absolutely perfectly to immune a Gadget mine with Shadow Slip, and it did not immune it. Like, I watched it blow, I slowed the footage down and watched it blow up during my slip, and it did not immune the damage. And that's horseshit. That's the fun of playing Countess is to have those iframes on Shadow Slip. Yep. So if you don't have those fun, then I think we all agree it's Predecessor. Chat seems to agree.
I think it will
also that Predecessor.
Too fast off of it, as I think one of the benefits of Predecessor 2 is there's an ability item in Predecessor that allows her cooldown for her ultimate to come down faster.
Astral Catalyst.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that makes her way more viable because you're able to possibly get multiple ultimates off in a fight, or maybe if a prolonged fight, possibly, you know what I mean? But you start to get that, and so then you can really be like, boom, sustain, boom, sustain, boom, and you can really, I mean, granted, this is more of a late game thing. You're probably not going to do it early, but it starts to hyper, and it makes her way more of a threat. Whereas in Overprime, there is no item like that. And so it's almost like you're punished a lot of times for going in trying to assassinate somebody because you're just stuck there. And if you get CC'd before you can Q, you just die because she has no survivability whatsoever. She has no, like, her right click does a little bit of healing off of however many people she hits, but
only if she kills the target. target.
Right. And so it's just not enough. It doesn't do enough. And so I think, even though I think she's still fun to play because that's just how Countess is, I think Countess inherently is fun to play but she loses the fun when you're not able to really get the kills, the assassination parts. And that's where Xena and Kallari, I think, start to feel a lot more fun filling that assassin role, because they can actually do all of those things and then potentially get out. And even if they're limping away, they still have a chance, to do so.
Here's something else that you kind of brought it up a little bit. Something else that pisses me off about Countess and Overprime. Fanatic's fucking dessert. The item that gives you a shield whenever you get low enough health, you will proc that every time you try and dash in and eliminate somebody with Countess, and you will not kill them because they don't have shield breaker items. I always talk about how Spear's Teardrop is such a great item on every magic damage dealer. I actually would not want to build that on Countess. She's like the one hero that I don't want to build it on, but I have to, because that's the only way I'm going to get a kill. Otherwise, Fanatic's Dessert is going to prevent those kills. However, once that Fanatic's Dessert wears off and they're still taking that ticking damage, that's when they go down. But you don't want that as Countess. You want that target to blow up when you blow them up, not fucking 2 seconds later.
100%. And so Astral Catalyst, right? Mangoose and I had a game last night where I was on Countess Jungle that I got my ultimate off 3 times over the course of one fight. Of fighting 5 people, rather. Right? I used it early to pick somebody off. By the time I got to the next group of 4, I was able to use it once at the very beginning and once at the very end to kill those people. So 3 times. It was just so good. Oh, man. Yeah, I've never heard Mangoose be so surprised that I killed somebody.
Yeah. That was an impressive series of events there. Are you guys ready to move on from Countess?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
that was an easy one.
Next up, I think this one's going to be a little more difficult. Maybe not for a lot of people, but I have a weird take on this one. It's going to be Dekker.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
what Mangoose and I talked about earlier.
Yeah. All right. So you guys go ahead and discuss Dekker while I set up the poll in chat.
Asked for a third option. They're both great. Or they both suck. So maybe 4 items. 4? I don't know. I think it's fair.
So Dekker is a weird one. I'm inclined to say that I like Dekker in Overprime more.
Interesting.
I don't like her kit as much. I think the predecessor kit is more fun in terms of just Dekker as a character, but the way that the abilities cast in predecessor feel awful in comparison to Overprime. Like specifically the ability everybody cares about, Stasis Bomb, right? That ability is so much better in Overprime. It honestly carries this vote for me.
Yeah.
Like it's the kit and predecessor is super cool, super fun. It's super fun to use. But when I use Stasis Bomb and predecessor, I hate my existence, and it almost offsets all the kudos I give them about the kit. So it's a close one for me, but I would say Overprime edges out Dekker for me on this one.
And I think Mangoose is probably going to be the most subject matter expert on this one, but I've played both. It's funny actually. I wish both did something similar to each of them. Like there's certain parts of the way that they designed their kits together that I'm like, okay, if this was in this one, this would feel better, and if this was in this one, I'm gonna give it to predecessor. And the reason why I give it to predecessor is I like that they took something that has been kind of a staple support and they put it in a new attempted way. I love the rework. I think the rework alone is fun enough and cool enough. Like the first time I got into predecessor and I saw the laser coming through and you could send it through walls and it just looked so fucking cinematic and cool, and I was just sitting there like, okay boys, here we go. Like this is new Dekker, right? Like I like that the Q is essentially infinite. I also like that, me personally, I like that the ball doesn't interact as fast and as erratic in Overprime. Sometimes you hit something and it'll look like it'll just zing off into a 45-degree angle the opposite way of where you were trying to send it. So, but it could just be that I'm an idiot and I don't know how to throw it. Either way, I'm willing to accept it. But I like that you can infinite throw in predecessor to try and secure those long lobs or something like that. The other thing that it throws me, and this is I think just because I've been playing for so long, is the switches of ultimates. So having her containment fence in predecessor as a shorter cooldown ability, every time I get stuck in that thing, I think I'm dead. Like, it goes so fast. It's faster than you expect it to be. Like, it gets you stuck and then you're out of it. I flash out of it almost every fucking time. And it's because I'm dumb and I think that I'm going up against ultimate version where it's going to be, I'm stuck in there forever, and I'm not. And so and my only complaint still, I'm still leaning towards Pred, but I think the ultimate for her in Pred is super cool. I kind of wish they changed the way that it gets implemented for you as the user, so you can kind of hover it and land it for like a top-down view almost, to be able to land it a little bit more consistent. Because I've seen a lot of Deckers try to combo it, and it fucks up. It gets hit on, some terrain in a weird way that they're not expecting or something like that. And I think that feels bad considering it's an ultimate. That's my take.
For whatever reason, insanely good at hitting her stun with the ultimate in Predecessor. I don't know why. I'm not that good of a player, but for some reason, I can just always predict where people are going to be and hit them with that shit. Excuse me, hit him with that shit.
Except if he's on your team.
Yeah.
When he's playing by himself, I firmly believe that that's true. Except when he's on your team, where he'll miss every single one every single time.
Oh no. So I've got a weird take on this one. Predecessor's Dekker has an infinitely cooler kit. Sleeker, looks better, fucking everything's redesigned, and it's freaking awesome. But
double jump.
But however, if you're going to do Dekker, if you're going to put Dekker in the game, there's one thing you need to get right, and that's Stasis Bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Predecessor did not get Stasis Bomb right at all, whereas Overprime did. Stasis Bomb is supposed to pass through minions. It does not in Predecessor.
Oh, I forgot about that.
That is the one fucking reason why I'm giving this to Overprime over Predecessor, is Stasis Bomb doesn't travel through minions. Also, throwing the Stasis Bomb in Pred is like throwing a goddamn pillow. Like, it's like,
oh god,
it's like an actual, like a beach ball or something. It takes for fucking ever to get to its target. You got to predict where they're going to be 3 seconds from now if you're going to hit your goddamn your Stasis Bomb, or just get right in their face and hit it with them point blank. And then what's the fucking point? You got to long lob the goddamn Dekker bombs to get your cool ass clips for fucking YouTube. You know what I mean? That's Attack 2000. Yeah, supposed to. Yeah, maybe not. In Paragon, it went through minions, so that's not a guarantee that it's supposed to do that. But like, that's my memory of Dekker, is that
it's one of the unique things of Dekker, right? That like your stun passes through minions, so it's not safe. It's not just an automatic safety net to just stand behind minions and negate any range stun of this kind. Mm-hmm. Right? If you want a range stun that is theoretically stronger, play Narbash. Right? His thunk is a straight line stun at a range. But I agree with you. Predecessor's Stasis Bomb feels like you need to get point blank range to use effectively. Which then, what's the point of having a almost infinite range Q if I have to be point blank to use it?
Yeah, right. For those Kobe's, man. For those Kobe's,
they are fun to hit. They are fun to hit.
I mean, yeah. I agree with you. So that's why I said, I think when I think about both of them, and I haven't played nearly as much, obviously, as Mangoose has, or maybe people here in chat. I think, though, that there's parts where I'm like, oh, man, I wish they both kind of like worked together weirdly to make the perfect Dekker. Because there's so much of both that is really good. Like in Predecessor, and this is, again, why I'm slightly leaning, her slipperiness in Pred is amazing. Seeing it, like, I think one of the first times I saw her doing some of the coolest things was when Soul Reaper was playing as her in our content creator early access. He was doing some of the most aggressive now he's Soul Reaper, okay, so keep that in mind. He's fucking nuts, but he's doing some of the most crazy aggressive things I've ever seen in my life, and getting away with it because he's able to double jump over terrain and make people miss, and doing all this stuff, landing his stuns, putting down containment fence. He was just all over the fucking place. And I don't think you get to say the same thing in Overprime. Like, I don't think she gets to feel as slippery and crazy. Not that she can't be, but I don't think to me, I don't know.
I think that's just a Dekker thing wherever you go, because it was the same thing in Fault too.
Yeah.
A Dekker that knows what she's doing will not die. And no matter what you do.
I think it's the double jump though. Having her jump on her right click is, I don't know, I'm just telling you. And also
it's a different place for the ability. It's the same ability.
In Predecessor too, because there's so much more terrain for her to jump over and lose people. In Overprime, there's not as much. It's a lot. I think it's harder to get away from people in Overprime in general, especially with travel speed. Anyway, I don't think either one of them are bad. I think they're both.
Yeah, they're both cool. Like
both
Predecessor did a fucking crazy cool job with her kit. Like I would love.
I think it's fun.
Like Overprime just still has that boring ass slow bubble that's only good for applying Spear's teardrop stacks. Like that's the only reason you use the slow bubble, really. And then and Predecessor's got that badass fucking line shot, that laser, which is really fucking cool. Still applies a slow, but you got to be a little bit better with it, which is kind of fun. Like, I don't know.
Taboo. I will not stand for this OP Dekker slate. What are we getting wrong, bud? What do you think is better? I don't know, dude. Tell us. I think, though, this one will be interesting because I think this one and one other champion that I feel like those are going to be the two where we feel like they both studios got them well, but that we kind of want slight adjustments or maybe some marrying of what they could do.
If Fred just had her stasis bomb go through minions, like I mean, it was like that in Paragon, and then I don't want to bring this game up, but it was like that in Fault, and like Fault played a hell of a lot like Predecessor does now. So I think there's just that expectation in my mind that she's going to function like she did in Fault, I guess. Anyway, I think that's going to close it out for it looks like chat.
Chat disagreed with you guys, by the way. Predecessor, hard one.
Hard win for Predecessor.
Yep.
And all right, so let's move on to the next one. Going to be, as soon as I figure it out, Feng Mao. So Feng Mao is, I mean, he's not.
Today I couldn't really play Feng Mao and Predecessor, so.
Oh, did they get him fixed today? That's good.
They did. They updated him.
All right, so you guys go ahead and talk about Feng Mao while I set up the poll.
You want me to go first this time, or you want to go? So for me, I'm going to immediately go to Overprime. I think Overprime's Feng Mao is way fun. Now, granted, this is part of it. They had him overtuned for a while. So part of his fun was the fact that you just got to beat the shit out of people. and
the tank items didn't help that.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is going to come down to, that's another thing, is the itemization. I think that some of the items were benefiting Feng Mao a lot more, especially in the last test versus live version of him. They nerfed him pretty good in live version of him. I just like how he overall looks. I think this is more for me just a gut instinct visually. I just think I don't know about kit wise. I didn't play nearly as much of him kit wise in either game to be able to sit here, because I'll lean on Jelly's expertise for that, because he definitely probably played way more games in that sense. But just visual feel, like the I pressed buttons, things happen. I just like the way that it happened in Overprime. But this is not me trying to hard convince anyone that Predecessor did a shit job at him. I just think that that's just my personal take on it. So I'll leave the rest to you. I just think that he was fun.
Jelly, did you already put your input in there, or is it my turn? What's going on? Okay, go ahead.
I mean, sure, it's your turn. You go.
Okay.
I played the most Feng Mao out of all of us, probably.
I don't know. For me, for Feng Mao, it comes down to two things. His ultimate, for one, in Overprime, once you lock that in, you're locked in. So it takes a little bit more skill in Overprime to actually land your ultimate. Like you gotta, once you hit that R, you're locked into that. Whereas Predecessor, I like it a little more because it works again like it used to in Paragon, where you hit the R, you're up in the air, you can still redirect your ultimate where you want to go, which I think is really cool. And then Overprime, with his shield giving you immunity to it. No, it's not just CC immunity though. It's full ability immunity, and I found that out by playing so much Countess, is that he can immune anywhere from 30 to 50% of my damage, depending on what ability he immunes.
Yep.
And it's like I'm not going to jump in and then not use abilities just because he put his fucking shield up. If I'm good enough, I'll right click to burn that and then hit him with my E and then my ultimate. But goddamn, like I think that's a little overtuned. So because of being able to redirect his ultimate in Predecessor, and I think that his shield blocking just straight up abilities, a single instance of ability immunity in Overprime, I'm going to give this one to Pred. I think Pred did Feng Mao better, even though they broke him for about a week or two.
Supersonic Feng Mao, dude. Like, this one's hard for me. There's an aspect that I played behind Kallari. I probably played Feng Mao the most out of any hero in Paragon. And so, but Kallari, Feng Mao, and Steel were the three characters I played the absolute most in Paragon. Mm-hmm. And so Feng Mao, the Predecessor for me, gives me that Paragon Feng Mao feel.
The
where I
nostalgia.
sit there and I go in the off lane and I'm like, dude, I am back on my hero in my lane. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
Right. And Overprime doesn't give me that same feeling. And it's the gameplay differences between the two of them. Their kits are very, very similar. Mangoose basically detailed the only real differences between them. I think Predecessor wins it for me, partly because of that feel and partly because you can redirect his ultimate. But I don't dislike that you can't do that in Overprime either. I think there is a skill advantage to being able to aim that ability efficiently and make sure you're actually landing those and getting the resets. But I definitely think I would put Feng Mao in the Predecessor category for this one.
Got 2 votes for Pred, 1 vote for Overprime. Let's see what chat says. Looks like Pred just barely eked it out. It seems pretty even across the board there. We had
I think that's fair.
38,
Good
33,
job,
and
chat.
27.
I don't think that's one of the things I feel like with this one is it's like they're not so far apart that they're gonna, I think, create like, if you're a hardcore Feng Mao player, you're not gonna be like, no, you guys are idiots. This one is so much obviously better, because they're so close in similarity. And that's why for me, I don't play enough. So because they're so close in similarity, I was just like, visually, one looks kind of flashier than the other, and that makes me happy.
All right, next one up.
Simple man.
It'll be a fun one. Gadget.
Let's do it.
Have a hat.
Oh, come on. This
I don't know
one
if
should
this is going to be a fun one. I think
this
it's
one
just
should
going to
be
be
easy.
PTSD flashbacks for all of us on Overprime side. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get mine out of the way. I think Overprime version of her is better. She's not only is she stronger, I don't know. Everything about her to me, like visually, her skin, the strength of her is just out of this world. She's still so fucking broken. I'm happy to see that almost everybody continues to ban her. She's ridiculous. I fucking hate her. But she's a strong fucking champion and she's super fun. I don't really know off the top of my head, actually, which one, if they have like a massive differences in their kits other than just like cooldowns and damage scaling.
Their E is different.
The E is different.
It's the same ability, but its behavior is different. One's a stun, one's a slow.
Got it.
And their ultimate size is very different.
Yeah, well, the ultimate size is huge in Overprime.
Overprime, yeah.
Yeah, it's massive.
Me being the mid lane guy that I am, again, I'm probably going to throw a weird curveball here. I prefer her in Predecessor because she is so overtuned in Overprime. Like, I think that's a poor.
That off of playing against her versus playing as the character.
Both.
Interesting.
It isn't fair that your fucking Q just appears instantly on people's heads. There should be
so much damage.
There should be some sort of skill involved in landing that shot. So I don't think it feels good. I hardly ever play her anymore in Overprime because it's just too easy. It's like easy mode.
I don't want to play her.
I don't think that's a good implementation. We're talking about who's implemented better. Like, if you put Overprime's Gadget against Predecessor's Gadget, Overprime's Gadget's going to fucking mop the floor with Predecessor's Gadget. But I think Predecessor implemented her better than Overprime implemented her. Even though Overprime did give her a bit of a makeover, make her a little sexier, which I kind of dig, and then she's got that sexy ass skin. I mean, we're not arguing skins here because Overprime just wins that one hands down. Like,
well, that's got to be a factor, though, right? Like,
I guess,
coolness or vibe or feeling, right? Like, you can't completely ignore it. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Huge impact on your enjoyment of playing a character one way versus another. You know, like I think that should matter. I don't disagree with you that the implementation, as far as like just overall kit and DPS and all that stuff, she feels more balanced in Predecessor. But I don't think just because she's unbalanced in Overprime doesn't mean that she's not more fun to play. Like, but it's because I don't know. Maybe it's hard to say because they're so different as far as the damage output. If they were more on equal levels and their kits aren't that different, I don't know. It's hard. I can see it going both ways, I guess. Jelly?
I think as it sits, the buttons are more fun to press in Overprime. I think their kit implementation is basically identical. So at that point, I have nothing to fall back on, but which do I have more fun pressing buttons? And that's definitely Overprime at the moment, right? I think she for lack of a better way to put it, plays like Gadget in Predecessor, but in Overprime, she plays like Gadget 2.0, and that I think is really fun.
Okay.
She's
Taboo, it's not that she's broken, it's that there's no travel time on the sticky mine. So It doesn't feel rewarding to hit, and it's as sure as fuck doesn't feel rewarding to play against because you can't outplay it, especially since you can't shadow slip it down or something.
In isolation of just like if you're just wanting to like, I don't know, just play somebody who feels just broken as all can be, landing it and knowing that there's nothing that they can do about it, and they're just gonna take a quarter chunk of their health. There's a sick part of me that enjoys that.
100%. When you drop that on somebody as they're running away, knowing there's nothing they can do about it. Yeah, you just sit there and cackle the whole time while it's counting down about to blow up.
Especially if they run into their team for safety and blow it up on their team. That's.
And Mangus pointed it out in the video that you did of her. Putting the ultimate down and seeing everybody scattered like cockroaches is hilarious. Yeah. It is so funny.
That happens in both games.
There's no team fight anymore. They're just all like... and then it becomes pick off city. Okay, which one ran the wrong fucking way? You know what I mean? And then you just...
Your whole team just sits on the sidelines and waits for one of them to run toward you inevitably.
That's what it feels like, honestly.
All right,
Wait, what did MT say? Pred, because the E has interaction and she has a passive. Overprime Gadget feels weird when you can't miss any abilities. That's fair.
Yeah, it's the stun on her E. The stun on her E definitely makes a huge difference.
So Overprime 1 in chat.
That's 3%? The correct answer, chat. Good job.
Let's move on to the next. Gideon. One I have a lot of experience with. Old Gideon.
You know what I just noticed? I keep like making mannerisms and talking with my hands, and chat can't see me. You guys are just hearing my voice come through the microphone in your speakers.
I'll set up the poll. What do you guys think about Gideon?
I think Predecessor wins this one pretty heavily. I love the Suction Cup and Overprime. I really do. I think it's a really cool ability idea. But the ultimate doing very little other than you just don't get to walk anywhere for 3 seconds.
Yeah, like a soft CC.
Yeah. Is meh. The dash is the dash. The Q is the Q, right? They're basically identical. I think his passive in Predecessor makes him interesting.
Yep.
In that, like, you having to stick to your target after you bop him with an ability and a basic attack, I think is a cool idea. Mm-hmm. It's like Phase Link from Overprime, but on a passive ability, and you don't pull the enemy, of course, right? But just that damage over time while you're standing near them. That's another one where I sit and cackle to myself while I'm watching their health take down. Is I've hit them with my Q, my right click, and then I've dashed in and hit them with a basic, and now I'm linked and watching their health slowly decay. And I just sit there, I'm like, yes, please die, run from me. Like, so great. I love that feeling. So yeah, I'd have to give this one to Pred.
For me, I'm a both equal kind of guy. I think that they both serve a purpose that is interesting in their own ways. I do think that Gideon in Predecessor feels better as like a mage damage dealer, like especially with his team fighting ultimate, where you don't get that same kind of feeling necessarily in Overprime. But I do like their right click difference, right? In Predecessor, the right click is just sending out another, space rock that does damage. I like that in Overprime, it's, a soft form of CC in a sense. Like, you're pulling them somewhere. You can use it to do different things, maybe set up a gank. I don't know. There's all kinds of fun stuff that kind of comes with it that I think is neat and fun in its own way. The combination of hitting your right click into your Q feels really cool. It's one of the better feeling, I think, moments, or like, hey, you thought you were gonna dodge and then, take the damage. I also like the implementation that Overprime did to try and make him a little bit more viable, because he was getting shit on in the last test, and he was probably the worst champion. They gave him CC immunity for the first CC that hits him. That makes him so much stronger. You have to commit as an enemy team multiple CCs to deal with him, and I think that's fantastic. So he, a lot of times in the games that I've been, gets his full ultimate off and doesn't die, whereas he before stunned out of his ultimate and then motherfucker's just dead because he's sitting there and he's squishy as all can be. Whereas in Predecessor, he does so much damage with his ultimate, everybody's running away, so they don't want to try and fight him. He still gets CC'd though, And then when he gets CC'd, he is just like any other time we've had Gideon, where he just is now, feed for the fodder. It is what it is. But
I did that the other day to Overprime Gideon as I CC. It was 1v1. He was like quarter health, and he used his ultimate. And I was like, I got CC. Threw it out of it. I was like, oh.
Yeah,
I'm by myself now, and I only have the one CC ability.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that, I guess.
Yeah.
I just sat there and took the whole ultimate for myself. Terrible.
His damage is not that high in OP Clorox. It does get higher, obviously, with items and stuff like that. And if you follow the Mangoose item video, you can start to put off a fuck ton of damage. But it's later. It's a slower build versus in Pred, man. He starts doing damage literally when he hits 6. He doesn't even have to have a completed item. Then that guy just chunks you. Yeah. You're fucked.
And he builds Astral Catalyst, and he can ult 5 million times over the course of the team fight.
Every mage needs to build that item. It's ridiculously strong on all of them.
I've got a lot of time played in both Predecessor and Overprime on Gideon. He's actually my most played hero in Overprime by quite a large margin. Mm-hmm. And I am going to give this one to Overprime. I think his kit is just a lot more fun in Overprime. I do love that Pred has that passive where he has burden.
I love that passive
back, because that used to be one of his abilities. So it's kind of cool to see that coming back, where you kind of cast burden on somebody if you hit him with a basic attack after you hit him with an ability. I also like that that enemies can take his portal in Predecessor. I think that's a cool idea. It's just not always a free escape. Like, you got to be smart with it. I'll tell you what is fun is taking your portal, immediately spinning a 180 and throwing your space rock, your straight rock at the portal, knowing that somebody's chasing you through and they take it through the face. That shit's fun as fuck. But I don't know what really takes the cake for me for Overprime's Gideon is that suction cup late game, being able to pull in multiple members of the enemy team and just landing like a triple rock, like landing your rock on 3 people after you use that suction cup to pull them in is amazing. And then it also offers just a bit more skill expression, because if I'm up against certain heroes and stuff, I won't use the suction cup with the meteor. I'll save the suction cup as an interrupt, as a displacement ability. And a lot of people don't do that. That just adds more skill expression to his kit. Whereas opposed to the straight rock, that's just always damage. It's never going to interrupt anybody. But the suction cup can be, everybody always uses it as a combo. You don't have to. And if you can't land a naked Gideon rock, then get the fuck out of the lobby anyway, man. Like that's what Gideon does. That's what he's always done. He never needed that suction cup before. You don't need it now. You can land naked Gideon rocks. But I just like that suction cup and just the extra utility it adds. He still has the utility of his team being able to go through his portal. And yes, black hole deals dick for damage, but it does deal damage. Like if the mid laner's at a quarter health and you go a black hole over top of their head, they're going to die.
Yeah. It's not like the other games where it'll do all of your health in one ultimate.
Right.
All right. And looks like chat is very much in favor of Predecessors, Gideon.
Those people can't land naked Qs. That's what they're saying.
I mean, I don't hate the idea that people put Pred. I do think that one of the cooler things is the passive with him. That link is kind of neat. I think it's a lot of times I've noticed, and when I played Pred, that a lot of Gideons aren't using it, and that's maybe because they're scared to be continuing to chase to get the benefits from it, and that's fair, but I like that it exists anyway.
My first game of Gideon and Pred, I 100% was that person. I was like, I don't want to get close to them. Like, why would I do that? I'm like, Master, I don't want to be that close. Let me just throw rocks from afar. And then I did it once in a combo and got a kill, and I was like,
that's why. I will say too,
I was like full on E-ing in, like point blank, drop Qs, let's go.
I will say too that something that kind of adds to Overprime's Gideon for me is just the spectacle of it all. Like like when he throws, he's like, "Comet!" Boom, and it just lands, and you hear this big crack and smack, and then Predecessor, you're like,
I think that matters. We were talking about button presses and which one feels better to press. And that's why, again, I'm more on both are equal, because I think depending on which one you like, if you're that guy who wants to single-handedly win a team fight and you're playing on Predecessor, you have that capability with your ER combo. You might win your team that team fight that they desperately needed. Whereas in Overprime, your ultimate typically isn't going to be the decider. It might be the setup to making it happen, but it won't individually be that. Whereas I think other combos will function like that, where they'll be able to single-handedly win a team fight. So it just comes down to preferences, I think.
Yeah, chat brought up a good point, and I 100% agree with you. True Silver over that stupid spell shield item in Pred, 100%.
Yes.
Definitely agree with that.
All right.
Move on to the next hero.
I hope that people aren't just hard saying their favorite because they like that studio more or they like that specific game, and people are actually objectively looking at this, because that's how I know we're approaching it.
All right, so
Leave
Grux.
your fandom at home, boys.
No, this is gonna be a Viking specialty right here.
Ooh, we like those.
Grux, talk about a Viking. Go.
Oh, dude, this one's gonna be hard because Grux in Predecessor is bleed, focused. His Omnivamp, his E is probably the part that makes him the best in as far as his kit. His E being able to knock up, whereas in Overprime it doesn't do a knock up, even though it looks like it does a knock up, it doesn't. It just does a slow. So there's so many times where because I've played both now, where I will in Overprime use my E, thinking that I'm going to go in, do a knock up, get my Q off, then my ultimate, and just CC chain the shit out of these guys.
Everyone vote for Grux, because Mangoose put Grux instead of Overprime.
Did I really?
Yeah, you got to delete it.
Everyone
in poll.
is better. Grux,
Which one's better? Which Grux is better? Grux is better. That's so funny.
Grux?
Grux is good, man. I like Grux. So for Predecessor, his kit feels really good to play. It definitely feels like, especially in solo lane, which I play him mostly in solo lane, he feels like he can actually 1v1, and then as he gets ahead, he starts to feel like he can actually be involved in team fights. He starts to get that Omnivamp going, so he can kind of stay in the front lines where he wants to be and be that disruptor. Overprime, and so I think I'm leaning towards Predecessor, but Overprime, he just looks fucking cool. He looks so much all of his abilities look better. When you hit his Q and you see those claws come up out of the ground and they rip across and they're pulling people with them. The ability to do your sprint jump Q to be able to get multiple people that aren't expecting it and be able to yank them in, so fucking cool. I mean, the rest of his kit still feels good overall. You can definitely still play him similarly as you can in Predecessor. The thing is, for me as a solo laner, I know that most times I can actually stay in lane as Grux and do a 1v1, sometimes even a 2v1 where the jungler's coming in, and I can still, because you get healing and bleeds through his kit, and it's so strong and people don't respect it, and they don't respect his damage, they don't respect his CC, and you can do multiple. I don't know. I think I'm leaning towards Pred. I wish he looked better, because he looks like a claymation figure running around on the map. I hate it. I do. I really do. I think he looks like shit, but his kit is super good, but itemization is more fun on Overprime, because you can build him either bruisery, tanky, full tank, or you could go I did an attack speed crit build on him. Oh my god, bros, that was fucking fun. Dude, he swings his fucking whatever his things are. So anyway, that's my Grux spiel for you.
Jellies?
I have to lean Overprime purely because of the sprint mode Q. That is one of the strongest abilities in the entire game by itself, because it's just wild that you can do that. Full sprint at somebody, jump in the air, and just, what are you gonna do? You can't get away. You better use your blink, because you're not going away. It's just that easy, and it's so good, and it's wild, and it feels amazing. Nope. Sorry, Pred Grux is fun, but it's not that fun. It's not jumping sprint Q fun.
Yeah, that's kind of what takes it for me too, is the jumping smash and grab. Being able to smash and grab while jumping is amazing. It's not only just the sprint, run, jump, and catch people off guard. Just, you could jump backwards in a team fight if somebody's pushing into you, and catch them off guard with that smash and grab. Being able to jump off smash and grab is fucking insane, and I absolutely love it.
I've done that. We pulled them into tower. They're not expecting you to do that jump backwards and do the pull at the same time, and all of a sudden you've covered more distance than they were expecting you to. Very, very fun.
You got a sprint mode, flip a 180, and then pull. So you're doing it in reverse. Just absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah,
so fun.
It adds a lot of skill expression to his kit, just being able to do that.
It does.
I like Pred's addition of the passive to him, like you were talking about with the Omnivamp that you get after so many hits that you stack up. I'm going to give it to Overprime though, mainly again because of feel. You feel like you're cracking somebody in the face with your club in Overprime, especially with the kind of the hit stop animations where it stops for just that little split second when you hit them and then carries through.
Yeah.
So it really feels like. Whereas Predecessor, it feels like you're swinging a couple of pool noodles around. Like they hit like a fucking truck. Don't get me wrong, but it looks like you're just
noodle skin for Grux now. Holy shit!
That would be great.
I want to play noodle skin for Grux.
That would be a fantastic skin. I'm not disagreeing with you guys. I play a lot of Grux in Overprime. Like I think he's maybe my second most played champion. I think in Overprime. Visually, like I said, I think he looks amazing. Like he's got one of the coolest skins in the game. You know, if not, I still think it might be up there as the coolest skin still, but it's close now with the new winter skins. But I think part of it is just the passive bleed / Omnivamp stacking that you can do in Predecessor. You just taking it from a solo lane perspective, even maybe as a jungler. I don't know. I didn't play too much Pred jungle, but you just feel like you're able to really use his kit to its fullest potential. And like I said, get one-on-one fights where you can actually, in Overprime, sometimes I don't feel like I can win every one-on-one. You know what I mean? Because it's just your damage it takes a while, but you need your items to really start feeling, those right clicks to do the amount of damage you need them to do. And so once it becomes team fight time, I feel like Grux more times than not is a displacer, is a half tank. He's not really the one that's winning you team fights. Whereas in Pred, sometimes I feel like I'm the reason why we fucking won that fight, because I'm just drain tanking through everybody, doing a lot of fucking damage. The bleeds are surprisingly strong. People don't realize how much bleed damage they're really taking, and that's partially against Pred because they don't do a very good job of letting you know where damage is coming from visually in your game. But it stacks up way faster, especially once you get farther into the game. So I don't know. They're both really good. I just again, this is for me is one of those ones where I could feel like if I could take two kits visually and theoretically and put them together, I would, because they're both really good for what they are.
I think what we're learning here is that Overprime needs to apply passives to their heroes.
Dude, if they added passives, I think that we would be in a whole different state of
but
game.
If you do, don't give Grux a bleed passive, because where on earth does that make any sense?
just on his basics.
Using a club.
Thematic. We were talking about character thematic. Yeah, where is he making people bleed?
Well, a club can make you bleed if you get hit hard enough.
Yeah. If I shatter your bone in half and it sticks out your leg, you're gonna bleed 100%. When I'm using Countess, who's a literal vampire, and she's slicing you and doesn't have any bleed, come on.
Well, that's fair. I think actually, so this is Jelly will appreciate anybody who plays League of Legends. I'd like them add to a brittle effect as his passive.
Yes, 100%.
I think that would be more fun for him. But the bleed in Predecessor is really strong, and people
let's strength aside. Thematically, bleed doesn't make any sense.
I feel you. I think it would be more fun if it felt more like it was something that was like he's clubbing you, and so therefore you're taking
break armor every hit or something. 2% armor.
I was gonna say armor pin. That
attack.
The way rogues used to be in World of Warcraft, when you equipped maces, you had a armor pin bonus.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. That actually was broken at one point.
Yeah, it was, especially in PvP. Okay, so chat is giving it to Predecessor.
I think we got a lot of Pred fanboys, boys. Guys,
I think we do.
Listen, Pred fanboys, I'm going to speak to you guys for a second here. I need you guys to objectively look at this. If you have not played Overprime's version of this, you don't just default to give it to Predecessor. What I want you guys to do is listen to our arguments and see which one sounds like something you'd be interested in. Even if you're not going to play Overprime, that's fine. Like, how many of you guys are voting Predecessor just because you only played Predecessor, so therefore Pred's going to win? Come on, bros. Like, this is supposed to be for fun. This isn't supposed to be like, going to decide which studio is going to live the long term.
Well, next up is going to be who did Howitzer better.
Oh, fuck.
This is going to be a rough one.
I think this one's going to be hard.
I know right off the bat, but
I feel like I do as well, but go ahead.
Yeah, Predecessor all the way. Predecessor did.
Yep, I'm right there with you, actually.
Not only is his kit more interesting, it's not even that, though. Like I said with Dekker, like, it's not even the kit. He's the one ability you got to get right with Howitzer is R2000 rocket. That fucking rocket in Overprime, it seems to have, like, the hitbox is just as big as the explosion.
Yeah.
Just coming out, just straight up. Like, if there's anything in your field of view when you fire that shit, it goes off, it blows up, and that pisses me off to no end. So yeah, I'm definitely giving it to. I think Predecessor still needs a scaling back a little bit. Like, that's a cool ultimate that he has. I much prefer his old school, just jump up the area of effect, blast an area. I know that, like, you've already got Gideon's area effect, you already got Gadget's area effect, and like Howitzer's isn't that much different from those two, other than he has an escape tied to it. So I do like that they changed it. His slow mines, I don't really get why they changed that. Then, you know, his mine is good in both games. They just removed the slow mines in Overprime. He just has pretty much just a AoE,
a shorter right click, or a shorter Q.
Yeah, just a short Q, and then but yeah, the main thing though is, like I said, if you're going to do Howitzer, you got to do R2000 rocket right. Oh, also, Howitzer traditionally has always had cleave tied to his basic attacks, which I think is thematically cool because he's firing explosives. Predecessor has that. Overprime does not. So yeah, mainly though, because of that R2000 rocket being so fucking wonky in Overprime, I'm definitely going to give Predecessor Howitzer.
Yep, I think between the ultimate and the Q, Predecessor takes it. I think the ultimate, I agree, is very strange in terms of like how it plays out, and it's really, 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 really strong in Predecessor. But I think thematically and just by feel overall, Predecessor beats out Overprime on this one.
I guess I'll be the dissenter here. I agree that Howitzer. Yeah, I think I'm giving it to Overprime, and I'll go into a little bit of why. But I do agree that in Overprime his Q feels not great. It's not. You have to really play around the fact that his hitbox is stupid and how it comes across from you. Like, there's so many times where I think I've cleared wherever anybody could be interrupting it, and I still haven't. The toe of a minion is far enough out, and it blows up on that minion instead of at the person I'm aiming it at. That aside, I think I just like the way that he operates in the position that he holds way more. I feel like he has a good balance of being strong when played well and being weak and punished when not played well. Whereas I feel like Predecessor, they made it to where his kit is so baby hand holding. It bothers me to no end. I feel like it's almost like talking about Gadget in Overprime. It is so easy to do everything, and you don't even have to be good. And you can, for the most part, I mean, you really have to. I feel like you have to try hard to suck with him in Predecessor. He's so slippery. His ultimate, being able to basically, you don't even have to. You can use it as a disengage tool while still doing massive amounts of damage. Insane DPS. You get to land your Qs super far away. You have a slow. You have a disengage or an engage with your E. He has so many things to me that it's stupid to play in Predecessor. I do like the way his ultimate looks thematically. Super fucking cool. Like him flying around and just rocketing everybody from above. Feels like Farah from Overwatch. Super cool.
There's nothing cooler than a mirror match with two Howitzers dogfight with their ultimates.
They're trying to aim at each other. Like,
they're not both like flying around, and like when you see rockets just going over your head, like, God damn, what's going on up there? I'm glad I'm down here.
It's true. I do agree the passive is nice on his autos, right? Or it does a little bit of AoE damage, but again, that kind of goes to me where it's like, dude, you can't even like farm poorly on him. Like literally, you can't do anything wrong on him at all. If you are against what you would consider a bad matchup, you can just sit under your turret and wait for minions to come to you and free farm them all fucking day. You don't have to do anything. You never have to put yourself necessarily into a harm's way to be able to function as a Howitzer. And he scales. And you get that item again that resets cooldown. He will get 3, 4, 5 ultimates off in a team fight, and you can do nothing to stop him because he's just flying around above you, and you just, there's nothing to do. Overprime to me feels like it matches what his kit is supposed to be. They might fail in the queue, but I think his right click does the right things. It gives you a slow. You aim it, I think, well. His E is a disengage or engage tool, and his ultimate sends him up in the air, gives him an AoE section that he fires off into, can use it as a disengage, but it's not always guaranteed. If you don't know what you're doing when you get up there, you might land right back in a team fight that you didn't want to be in. Like in Predecessor, you can stay up in the air with CDR for so fucking long because every ability keeps you up in the air for a little bit longer. So you can hit your ultimate, hit your Q, hit your E, hit your Q again, and you're just like floating around above everybody, fucking rocketing them to death. It's stupid. I hate it. I think it's dumb. I think it's and his power, his levels of strength, he scales forever. I can't stand it. That's my take. I hate him. I don't ever want to see him. They need to do something. They haven't touched him, and it bothers me. They've messed with.
They nerfed him a little bit. Oh, did you see what it was? It was 130% scaling, and they put it down to like 95% scaling or something off of the magic. It's like, what were you thinking in the first place? Get that weak shit out of here.
Get out of here. Fucking nerf the shit out of that guy.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll. Looks like Predecessor won once again for chat.
There you go. Wait, what did chat say about it? Baby hand holding? Yeah, dude, it's a tiny little baby hand.
Oh, my strong hand.
Howie's currently easy in Pred because his ult damage early is high. His slow mines range is way too far. It might as well be another missile with how much damage those things. Yeah, dude, it's insane.
Now, I'm looking forward to Jelly's take on this next one, which is Kallari. Both have changed her kit a little bit. OP has changed her kit a lot, I guess I should say. So he's our resident Kallari main here, so.
I'll go last, but this one's hard for me.
Oh, you want to go last? Okay.
Yeah, I want to go last.
I guess
you want me to go first?
Yeah, because I got to do the.
That's fine. Okay, so I am not a Kallari main by any means. I am not as scared of a Kallari in Predecessor as I am in Overprime. You can take that for what it is. I think that part of that is just going to be the type of map and the way that the game plays out, and so there's those things to take into consideration. I will say that I think what I'm going to do. Okay, I'll make this easy. From a button pressing standpoint and visual clarity and ability, I'm going to give it to Overprime because that right click knife throw into her E animation is one of the coolest things I think I've seen in a long time. It is, as the player, it is one of the coolest feelings to see yourself, and chat can't see me, but you do this like little zigzaggy zoom in, and then you appear on them, you root them, and you can get your ultimate off. And they're just everybody who's been hit by an Overprime by a Kallari E or right click into an E combo is pissed. They probably have PTSD sitting here thinking about it because they're just like, well, I'm fucking dead. There's nothing. This guy's gonna just wipe me. I know that they're strong in Predecessor, but I just haven't felt that same fear as I might feel as a fed Kallari in Overprime. And so for that, I'm going to give it to Overprime just because I actually get like a feeling in my chest thinking about it.
Oda, you got that reversed. It's camo and pred, invisibility in Overprime.
You can hear her a little better in Overprime because I think Overprime's sound design is overall better. I think Predecessor announced that they're picking up a new sound engineer, so that should be good. I think that's most of Predecessor's problem right now is sound design. But anyway, for my take on this, I do like that Overprime turned Kallari into just an all-in hero. Like, there's like she's always been able like that stick and move sort of hero, that easy escape, get in, deal some damage, get the fuck out. Whereas Overprime, she's a straight up duelist. Like, you gotta you gotta secure that kill. If you go in on somebody, you better get that kill. Otherwise, you're not getting out. Especially with her ultimate locking both targets down, that locks her down as well, which makes it very easy to CC her. And then I don't know what is up with her ultimate in Overprime because I don't really fucking play her, but goddamn, I see so many people miss that shit. It just in the middle of a lane, just
line you have to land it perfectly to get her ultimate to stun.
Yeah, I just hardly ever see anybody hit that ultimate. Predecessor, that mark thing is cool, but I think it adds so much to the frustration of playing against Kallari, which is she, like I said, she's that hit and run hero where she gets in, she deals even more damage now, and then just fucking gets out for free and just waits for you to die while she's just off in the jungle somewhere. I've always hated that about Kallari, that she could just free escape. Like, she already has an invisible. Why are you giving her a double jump? Like that always fucked with me. For me, this is
more escaping Overprime now, though, with her Q being basically she can't be damaged out of it. So you have to CC her in order to find her again.
Yeah, true. I mean, that's the way it was in old Paragon too, but
yep.
Because in Pred she has a camo, right? So she can still be pulled out of it
if you're close to her.
Yeah. So you can still chase after her and find her.
But I don't know. I can't decide on this one. I'm not a Kallari player, so I really don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just going to say both equal for me. I will say I'm a lot more afraid of Kallari in Predecessor than I am in Overprime. I know.
Oh, interesting.
I know Jedi is going to disagree with me there, but I think
yeah,
she's a dog shit. She's an absolute dog shit hero that has no business ever.
Well, don't open that can of worms, bro.
I'm just fucking with you, Jedi. I'm just fucking with you.
You're trying to trigger me, dude. Chat, dude. These guys do this to me every time. They've been doing it in my streams when I'm bitching and moaning about Kallari. I think that she's way stronger than these guys give her credit for in Overprime. We are obviously going to hear from Jelly Knees, who is the resident expert as it comes to Kallari. I will lean on people who are better at this game and how they take it, but I just know how I feel personally. And I think that she's broken as fuck in Overprime.
And real easy, they haven't called her Kayla in forever.
All right, Jelly, give us the breakdown, brother.
Yikes. So right click, I feel like for me, I have to break this down per ability. Honestly, because it's difficult. I wouldn't call them equal. Like, I think that's a disservice, honestly, because they're very different.
Shut up, Clorox. I don't want to hear your shit.
Having 2 daggers on her right click is the best thing that has ever happened to a Kallari ever in the entire world. That is like if I even thought about that being an option in Paragon, I would have petitioned till the end of the world to get a second dagger in Paragon because I think that is one of the greatest things you could do for her. In Overprime, her dagger is interesting. It's a single dagger, but it also applies a mark that when you hit them again, it pops and does extra damage. So that is, it's a very good source of damage early on. Her E is a dash in Overprime, and her E in Predecessor is that mark that Mangoose was talking about, where it pops a couple seconds later, dealing more damage the lower health they are. In Predecessor, it's a fun ability to kind of get like fadeaway kills. But it's just kind of meh. Like, I just kind of find myself like applying it and hoping it does something great.
What are you waiting for? Something amazing, I guess.
Exactly, right? It's not a fun ability to use. I never hit it and I'm like, whoo, right? Like, that was a fun button to press. I always hit it and I'm like, well, now I need to hit my other buttons perfectly in order for that to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Her ultimate in Pred is way too far. I understand it in Paragon, that ultimate, it was the same ultimate originally for her, but it was a third the distance, and people hated it because it did a lot of damage, but it was literally tiny in terms of how far it went. And Predecessor's like, oh, you didn't like how the short distance was. All right, we're going to turn that up to 11, and now you're going to fly out of the team fight when you press your ultimate. And I think that is too far.
It's still a global. It's still a global. You can go from one side of the map to the other way.
It's like, great, you just used all of your abilities point blank because you're a basic attack character, and now the person's still right in front of you, ult, and you're under their tower instead. Like, it's wild.
So which one's better? I pushed out and said both. I can't decide myself.
For me, I think I have to take it down to itemization. If items were better in Overprime, I think I would hands down say Overprime, because she is not an assassin in Overprime by any stretch of the imagination, because AD assassins don't exist in Overprime.
Mm-hmm.
But assassins 100% exist in Predecessor. Mm-hmm. And for me, Kallari is an assassin, and I can't play her as an assassin in Overprime. I think I have to say Predecessor here.
Because you're not building Frontiera's Flask, Jelly. If you just build that, you...
Dude, I'm... Fuck.
Fuck with both of you. So chat says, not surprisingly enough, Predecessor.
At least this one's pretty close though.
This one's close.
30, 61 to 35. I think purely if Overprime added 80 items or assassin items, I would pick Overprime hands down. I think she's way more fun in Overprime.
Is it 80 or 80?
Sorry, physical power. If they added physical power assassin items. If they added PP assassin items.
Also, Jelly, do both give the same satisfaction when you right click somebody who's trying to back under tower and you just come up to them and go bink when you throw your dagger at them?
They both give the same satisfaction, but I get to do it twice in Predecessor. So.
Fair enough.
Because the people are like, oh, she threw her dagger. Okay, I'm gonna press back again. You just whoop. Okay, bye.
Later, dude.
And even better is if you press your E before you throw the second dagger, because then they start backing again, and then the E pops and they stop their back a third time.
Fair enough.
The good feels right there.
Yeah,
I mean, I want 80 assassin items too. That works.
Oh crap! I just realized for my Khaimera image, I left Kallari up as the name, but we're talking Khaimera right now, not Kallari.
Khaimera. I think this one's easy.
Khaimera Kallari.
I think this one's easy peasy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to lean on you again on this one because
I'm leaning on you on this one too because I don't give a fuck about Khaimera in either game.
Fast for all of us. It's Predecessor. We don't even need to vote. Predecessor's Khaimera is 1,000 times better than Overprime's. Even with the fact that you can't heal off of lane minions. The fact you can't heal off of lane minions. His sustain is way better. His E negating CC for a time for not only can he get out of CC pressing his E, he's also still negating CC for the next couple seconds after the fact, which is just wild. His Q is a max attack speed boost and not just a general attack speed boost. Yep. Super great. His right click relatively the same in both games, but it gives his stacks are more impactful in Predecessor. So it giving him stacks on his right click is more impactful. The fact that when he uses his E, he doesn't consume his stacks is just beyond mind blowing. His ultimate is 100 times better. That man in Predecessor is just absolutely wild. And in Overprime, he's one of the weakest junglers, arguing for the worst with Kallari.
You said that to piss me off, dude. I don't want to hear that.
No,
I do think
100%.
I do.
Yeah, Clorox. Yeah, Jelly does want 80 assassin items. That is what he was.
True. I think do it weirdly. I'm going to say this for Khaimera. I think he in Overprime he actually functions better as a solo laner.
I would agree. 100%.
I think he's better in that role. If you just really enjoy playing Khaimera, like you can still play him in jungle. I think he's viable. The problem I think that people find with him in Overprime is that almost everybody, and this is where Mangoose comes in. You use your fucking right click to try and get into a fight instead of just walking into lane and fucking starting and whacking on them, and then use your right click to secure the kill or get in. So many people do it, and because Overprime speed is way faster, people can get out of harm's way typically a little bit easier. He gets really punished. I think to Jelly's credit, I think he gets punished the most because he doesn't have any other form of CC or way to engage once he's used his right click. He's just kind of fucked. He's very team reliant in that regard to kind of help set him up.
His passive regen stacks are worth nothing in Overprime. Yeah. Whereas they're arguably too strong in Predecessor.
Because like that was the thing for me when I think about Khaimera was that he was like the ultimate like power farming jungler. Like he could just farm through all of his jungle and then he's going into your jungle. So like even if he's not making impacts in lanes, he's just hard winning through killing camps faster than you can. And I feel like in Predecessor, they took that and again dialed it up because not only can he come into your lane and fuck you up, but then he's also stealing all of your jungle camps, not taking any damn. He's nuts. He's nuts. I think that one is just really easy.
For me, because I really don't give a fuck about Khaimera, I'm going to give it to Overprime just because whenever you hit somebody in Overprime with a melee character, it feels like you're fucking hitting somebody with a melee character.
It's chunky.
Don't really care about his
Khaimera holds a soft spot for me, Mangoose, because of our game against Smashly. I was on Khaimera.
Yeah.
I will remember that game till the day I die because it was just the most entertaining thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was nuts. But yeah, I mean, and then like if you build crit Khaimera in Overprime, you actually get crit sounds. So when you activate your Q and you're like, you know, he feels more monstrous in Overprime, I think, than he does in Predecessor. So I'm going to give it to Overprime just because of that. But again, I'm not your fucking local goddamn Khaimera source of information here.
Before we move off, I would like to refer Mangoose to the game we played last night where Khaimera was literally popping me in one ability.
Yeah, he in Predecessor, yeah. Yeah,
He hit me with his ultimate and I took 3,000 damage.
I was on Richter and he was popping me.
Saying just build anti-heal and you're fine.
No.
I built Tainted Totem first.
Yes.
I built Tatum.
Yes. In Predecessor, God, no. It's still not enough.
I built Tainted Totem first, but it didn't matter about his anti-heal because he was just destroying everybody because it got so far ahead. Oh, anyway.
I do kind of want to say though, I think that's a slippery slope when we start comparing the usage of these champions when it comes to items, because I think we've talked about this a lot on FTM, and it's neither game has their items done well enough to be where we would like them, and they both have huge or no impact on the way that the kits sometimes are played through. Like they're just so. To me, they feel all over the place. Like Predecessor feels like kind of boring as far as their itemization. There's a lot that kind of overlap and do similar things. Overprime has some that are just like non-existent, and then some that are just like way overtuned and crazy. And it's like, I feel like we're going down a, like I said, slippery slope. If we start going like, okay, you can build this guy better, so he's better in this game. I don't think that's fair. I think if we try and just keep it to, because the items suck in both games, right or wrong.
Yeah, I mean they both have time to rectify that, but I agree with that. That's the other thing. They both have time to rectify a lot of shit here, so it's not like this is going to be the end all be all. This one's always going to be better in this game because they're both going to be making shit.
No, you're picking a camp right now, Mangoose.
Yeah,
I'm going to end the poll, and Khaimera definitely won that one for Predecessor. So let's move on to the next one. Is Belica, Lieutenant.
Ooh.
Oh, she is fucking. I don't know, man.
Is she dog shit in both games?
I don't think she's dog shit in Pred. She is absolute fucking garbage in OP.
So then by that, because I think she's the worst champion in Overprime.
Right now she is. Because
I think she is.
She can't outrange anyone. No. Her drone works on the pip system, so once it takes enough shots, it goes down. So if she throws it in lane, you just use an ability so it zaps you, and then all of your minions immediately target her drone and fucking delete it.
Or if she's dumb enough to walk forward, they start attacking her, and she just gets chunked out by minion damage.
She's only half decent in Overprime as a support. That's it.
Yeah,
and even then, she doesn't do nearly as well as some of the other supports. I think she's garbage. Soul Reaper, what's your opinion on which
I give her to
Gideon is
Pred,
better?
but I do that very limitedly. I think she definitely has more impact in Pred than she does in Overprime, but that's not saying much when the bar is literally the floor in Overprime. So
yeah, Overprime needs to work on her. I will say though,
go ahead.
The only bug I've ever experienced in, well, not the only bug, but one of the very few bugs I've ever experienced in Predecessor is her ultimate just not dealing damage at all. And I've had that happen multiple times, and that is extremely frustrating. And the people are always like, well, they probably were at full mana. Motherfucker, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to ult somebody at full mana with Belica. Like they were
I've been on the receiving end of Belica ults doing no damage, where I'm sitting at -5 health, and I see Belica just start to line it up, and I go like, this is the moment. And then somehow I survive. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep running then. Thanks. Like, I don't know what happened, but.
Soul Reaper says Overprime Gideon is better. And he's a Gideon main, so that's got some weight to it.
You say Gideon or?
I asked him, I said, Soul Reaper, what's up? Which one's better? And which Gideon is better in
okay.
Games? He said Overprime.
Yeah, see, he agrees with me. Soul Reaper and I, we're equal skill levels, so we have equal opinions about this shit.
Oh, absolutely.
You definitely are. You're definitely equal skill level.
Yeah, it's just, if they would change in Overprime that the minions did not target her drone, I think she would be 1,000 times better. She also just gets her knock-up gets outranged by everybody, but her bomb actually goes just as far as like a Gideon rock, and is basically just as easy to hit. So if you are going to play her at Overprime, just level up the shit out of your bomb and use it like a Gideon rock, and then just use your stun when people engage on you.
I'm sad that neither one of them really did a lot to innovate her. Like, I feel like she as a thematic character has a lot of opportunity, and I feel like neither one of them capitalized on it.
She's supposed to be the anti-mage, and she's not in either one.
No.
Realistically. She's just another battle mage. She's just another battle mage, and that's not interesting, right? Part of her appeal in Paragon was the fact that she was the anti-mage. She was the answer to Gideon, right? Like Gideon was a monster, introduced Belica. Belica was like, oh, great, you're playing a mage? Let's go, right? Play a different character.
Right.
And she's not that in either game, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah. I guess both equal for me. This is a pretty boring one. Kind of sad. I loved Belica in Fault. Absolutely loved her in Fault.
I was gonna say, it makes me upset because I actually thought that back in my Paragon days, maybe a little bit in Fault, but like I thought she was a fun character. I loved her knock up. I like again being an anti mage. Like, oh, you're gonna play Gideon? Okay, let me wait for you to use all of your abilities and then one shot you because you have no fucking mana. I loved that back and forth. I loved that like almost like chess game of like, who am I as Gideon going to do enough damage to you with my abilities and using my mana as just as much of a resource as my health versus you being able to, outlast my abilities and then one-shot me with your ultimate or whatever. So it was super fun. And her disengage with her Q gave her a lot of safety, but I feel like in Overprime and Predecessor, she has no safety. That Q doesn't do enough with everybody having blinks, so many people having CC. She just gets collapsed on and fucking dies. She doesn't do anything. She might not even get her ultimate off because she died before she could even use it.
I'm going to I think Predecessor slightly edges her out because I think she has a little more capability in the right hands. If an aggressive player that can dodge other skill shots really well will perform really well with Belica, whereas Overprime, she's just always going to feel a little bad, I think.
I think
until they fix her fucking drone.
Beat the shit out of her. Howitzer is never, I feel like a good Howitzer is never going to lose to her.
All right, well, chat says Predecessor.
Okay. Sure. They win this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody cares. All right, so after Belica is Murdoch. Ooh, this is going to be a fun one.
Ooh.
I don't think it's going to be a fun one. I think this is a pretty easy one.
I think it's easy for me. But I'm curious how chat is going to react because they've been pretty heavy one way versus another.
Well, I mean, in Predecessor, I'll start, I guess. Murdoch Ultimate on Smart Cast or Quick Cast is unusable.
It's garbage.
They literally had to change the ability to function differently on Quick Cast because it was so bad. Like and it's still not great. Like,
what are we talking about?
Murdoch Ultimate
Predecessor?
Oh, his Ultimate. His Ultimate. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's terrible. His Ultimate and Predecessor in general is just not as great. I don't need it to be instant like it is in Pred, but I need it to be faster than what it is because it's awful to aim sometimes or most of the time. His right click is what it is. It's a disengage off of people on him. His mines are uninteresting in Pred, and I like that Overprime changed them, but Overprime changed them to be something else that is just as uninteresting.
Yep.
Meh. Like overall, I think he's meh in both, but I think he's way better in Overprime than I would say he is in Predecessor.
For me, as somebody who played a shit ton of him, Overprime by far. His missiles alone make him so much more fun in Overprime. His Q early game, like, it gives you so much lane control. Then you get his right click and you're able to I don't level his E until I have to, by the way, in Overprime, because I think it's stupid. I get so mad when I'm playing and a guy is playing as Murdoch and he drops down into his fucking, I'm going to launch grenade stance and waste his whole fucking mana pool trying to land like hits on somebody who's backing super far away and he wants to get that highlight reel. It is cool when you land it, but come on, bro. Like, play the game. Like, let's get up there and fucking farm some minions, dude. Like, so I don't even level his E. I think in Predecessor, him getting like a healing stem is fine. Gives him a little bit more survivability in some aspects, but I just think the Q alone and the ultimate being an instant cast, I think is way better because it's already hard enough, especially those really like across the map hits to hit them. When people are jumping around and moving and doing all kinds of stuff, it's already difficult to hit those. Giving it an instant is not that crazy, but it definitely gives you kill secures in lane where it's the most important, I think, and really showcases his strength. So for me, his Q ultimate, so much better in Overprime. And it looks fucking cool. Those missiles coming out, and you see someone like trying to get away, and they're just getting hit by all those missiles. Oh, it's so cool. I love that.
So, Clorox, go ahead. Actually, go ahead, Mangoose.
I was just going to say that just all the, when we're just speaking just strictly ADCs, I think they all feel better in Overprime over Predecessor. A lot of that has to do with the sound design, which Predecessor has taken steps to fix. Like Sparrow feels infinitely better now that they did some more stuff with her basic attacks. But not having a crit sound and just the sounds in general and just how slow they are, I think Overprime's carries ADCs just, I think they feel better to play just in general. Murdoch, his E, I think it's dumb as fuck, the grenades, but when you see somebody, when you see it in the right hands, it's fucking insane. I was watching Raven on Twitch last night. Oh my God. Like people would be like, he would have them backed under a tower. He would lob 2 grenades, snipe. The snipe would take him down just far enough to where those 2 grenades lobbed in would take him out. And seeing people do some crazy shit like that, I'm like, sure. Oh fuck. I was like, maybe that E's not as useless as I thought it was going to be.
I would rather have that E. I would rather have that E than the mines in Predecessor. Those mines suck balls. You get a little bit of sun, but they're so easy to see. Unless you knock somebody or someone's not paying attention, they're fucking garbage. I don't like them. They can do something better. I kind of agree a little bit with Clorox saying that like the Q that it has some overlap with Rev's Q.
Better Rev and Q in every.
Rev and Q.
And that's the weird choice to me. Is like Murdoch.
Weird.
Again, I prefer Overprime Murdoch for sure, but. I think in terms of a design, to give a better version of a different character's ability and then also have that character be in the game with the same one, just worse, is just a weird choice. Because at this point, that was one of the strengths of Revenant, was his Obliterate being a very strong ability when used correctly. Yes. And you just removed the used correctly part, and just when used on Murdoch,
it does so much damage. Minimum 10, you sound like a boring guy at the party. I'm joking, dude. You love
he's right though. The traps are kind of fun to like kite around and like try and get people. And it is, and me being the Richter guy that I am, I love having a Murdoch that has those mines out so that I can pull people into the mines. Shit like that's kind of cool. But yeah, this one definitely goes to Overprime for me. Even though I actually prefer Predecessor's version of the ultimate. I always liked leading the shots with his snipe instead of
lead the shots, but I don't need a 5-second lead time on.
Yeah, they need a happy medium. They need to come. Yeah,
100%. There are too many times where I'm like, I press the button and then it sits there, and the person's so far gone, it's ridiculous, and then it fires. Like it's just wild.
To me, I just have to hard disagree with the Predecessor. He's fun in any capacity. I don't think he is. I think he's boring to play. Actually, I actually think all the AD carries in Predecessor are boring to play. None of them feel.
The lane doesn't help that either. I think
it doesn't. But
playing carry in that lane feels so bad.
It's just
it's very hard to identify the minion health bars when you're looking.
Minion health bars, basic attacks not hitting when you think they're supposed to. The uphill nature, having to look straight up almost. It feels like when you're on the lower part of the hill with minions blocking 90% of your vision. It's like I have no idea what's going on.
I think I'm giving it Overprime. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here, and it looks like chat is also giving it to Overprime. This is the first one I think Overprime has won as far as chat goes.
Ooh, and barely, but still close.
So let's move on now to one that is near and dear to my heart and I actually care about. Somebody I didn't care about for a very long time, and now I do. It's Muriel.
Wait, did we skip over the Fae?
No, she starts with a T.
Oh, because it's the Fae?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Her
name isn't Fae, and you're referring to her as the Fae. Her name is the Fae. Motherfucker.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about Muriel. We'll talk about Fae later.
Murl.
So, who did Murl better? Is it Predecessor or Overprime? This is an easy Overprime victory for me.
Yeah, I agree.
OP Muriel.
He's
easy.
So lackluster in Pred, it's wild. Not having the stun is a big part of that too.
I wish the stun was stronger in Overprime, but because it just feels like it's.
No.
I do. Oh. I think it. Okay, listen, I'm allowed to fucking have an opinion.
No, you're
boys.
Not when it's wrong. Not when it's wrong.
I wish it was a little bit stronger because it feels like, with the amount of CC that's in this game, hers feels like a hiccup of CC in comparison to a lot of the other CCs. Granted, it's huge, it's a bigger thing, and so therefore it shouldn't be. I just wish. I'm not saying it needs to be overtuned. I'm saying I think it was. I wish it was a little bit stronger because you notice it the most in lane when it's like just a hiccup of CC. It stops them for a millisecond. I don't know. It doesn't feel that impactful. It's still good. I don't want it to go away. Okay, first of all, I don't want to nerf it. I just think it could be, of all of her stuff, be a little bit stronger. But otherwise, I've not had as much of palpitations and freaking out as when I'm trying to support somebody on Muriel and throwing all the shields, ultimate, everything like that. Like, she just feels so proactive, and like you're just having to pay attention to everything that's going on all of the time. Plus, if you guys are really interested in a really fun Muriel clip, Mangoose trying to keep these two knuckleheads alive in an end game situation where we're both on 2 carries and slivers of health or no health bars at all at some point. It just showcases how fun and crazy playing as a Muriel is, while also giving you many heart attacks along the way.
Lock on right click. OP Muriel all all like
that goes from the back of one tower to the back of another tower. It's literally.
Played Zenyatta in Overwatch.
Yeah,
that's a literal comparison I can give you.
Yeah,
and it was so funny playing Pred opening weekend with Mangoose. I was playing carry, he was playing support Muriel. He threw the right click on the ground for me to grab. And I thought it was a visual bug. I was so used to Overprime where it just locks onto me and gives me the shield. He's like, get the shield. I was like, what shield? And he's like, on the ground. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it just no competition for me. Overprime does need to fix her fucking ultimate so that it goes to the target, not where the target was. That's the main issue with her in Overprime. If they fix that, 100%. The thing I like about her in Overpred though, it's not even that lock on right click. It's just the skill expression that you have with her. Yes. There's so much more to do with Muriel in Overprime than there is in Pred. Because like a lot of people will always combo that. They'll combo that stun. You don't need to fucking do that every time. Nope. Like, it's much better if you use that slow them down for a good long while, and then when they're just about to leave, that's when you throw the shield. And I think it's really fun too, that you can shield yourself, you can shield your ADC, and you can stun an incoming jungler all at once. All at once. It is so fucking fun to do. Again, her ultimate not traveling to the target kind of sucks, so you have to build her fairly tanky, I think, at Overprime to be effective with her. Otherwise, you just never get to use your shields. I know people say to build magic damage so her shields are bigger. Who cares how big the shields are if you never get to use them because you're fucking dead? But just the skill expression that they've given her at Overprime is amazing, and I absolutely love it.
Yep. Hard to disagree. I think the right click alone is probably one of the best things about it. Especially since it comes off of cooldown as you start getting into it. Like, you're able to get that thing off multiple times, use it for chase down. It's so great. I'm a big fan. I think it's fun, dude. She's probably one of the most fun supports to play, personally.
She is a lot of fun, yeah. Chat is wholeheartedly agreeing with us that she's much better in Overprime than Predecessor. So I think we're going to move on now to Narbash.
Oh,
Big Daddy Bash. I think he's fun as fuck in both games, for real.
Bring back Combustion Narbash and Predecessor.
Oh God, no. That was too much. I think
that was when I was even playing Narbash, because I was like, Combustion, yes, please.
You guys go ahead and talk. I'm doing the poll.
So I mean, if we just go into visuals, that the new Narbash skin that looks fucking cool as
Oh
shit
yeah,
in
it's
Overprime. But
fucking awesome.
that's almost not even a fair thing to do to Predecessor. I'm gonna say personally, both are good. I think that they both capture what Narbash is supposed to be. I think that in Overprime he sometimes and I know they balance him out a little bit so it's not as bad, but he used to be able to just really keep everybody alive for way too long, way too easily, especially early game. They have turned that back a little bit, so he's not nearly as strong as he was, but he's still really, really strong, especially in team fights and with teammates who know to not leave his fucking side. Dude, I was yelling at my teammates because they were running away from the Narbash. I'm like, bro, his whole thing, just stick next to him. He will keep you in this fight. Just stay next to the guy. Don't fucking run away. Why are you running away? Oh, I was so mad. But that's both games probably have those same things. So I think I guess if I was going to edge it would be slightly in Overprime's favor, but not by a lot. I think both of them are good. I think his kit is a little bit more nuanced in Predecessor, right? Like stuff goes on cooldown.
You got your rhythm stacks that you need to be building up and stuff.
So there might be there might be guys who are like, I like the vibe that from Predecessor versus Overprime and all that stuff, and that's fine. I think they're both good for what they are. It's Narbash. Hit your thunks, win game. That's it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think both equal for the vast majority of things, right? They feel very similar for the games I've played, which is very few to be sure, but very, very similar between the games. Narbash and Overprime giving you attack speed on his Q is a little wild, but at the end of the day, it's just a different stim that he gives, and I think that's fine. But yeah, what about you, Mangoose?
Yeah, I think they kind of equal out for me. Again, with Overprime, when you're actually beating somebody with your drumsticks, it feels a hell of a lot better than beating somebody with your drumsticks in Pred, but Pred just looks better and his animations are cooler. So yeah, both equal for me. And I think yep, Chad agrees, both equal. Like Narbash has done really well in both games, I think. Chad agrees, both equal for Big Daddy Bash.
The thunk has always been one of the most satisfying things to hit in the game.
Not only that, but the Predecessor and Overprime both got 23%. So it's like straight up equal across the board here. Yeah.
Good old Narbash. He's probably he's just so fucking fun looking.
He's so underestimated. People forget how good he is until they play against him. They're like, oh,
so
shit.
Goofy.
And thematically, he's a fat orc who plays the drums. What's not to love?
Come on.
Oh, this is going to be a fun one. Rampage.
Oh,
and bear in mind, we're not taking that ass into account. It is Snow John's skin.
100%.
I know Jelly's probably gonna have a strong because this is again going back into jungling more than off lane, and that's what I've been mostly playing. I'm gonna probably say that both are equal for different reasons. That's my initial take because I haven't played a lot of him in Predecessor enough to really have a very strong opinion. I played him probably more obviously in Overprime, and I'm trying not to go back to the skins and the visuals because I think he looks fucking so damn cool in Overprime. Like he just looks exactly like, I don't know, they just took his theme and they made him beefier and bigger and just more, I don't know, dude, he just looks like a big fat ass that's coming to kick you. He throws a snowball now. I don't know, man. He's fucking cool. He's annoying to deal with in both games. I think when he gets fed, he's fucking insane. He's great. I'm gonna put him as both equal because I don't have a strong enough opinion one way or the other. Mingus?
Well, it's kind of funny. I totally disagree, Clorox, that his rock works correctly in Pred. That's the fun of playing Rampage is throwing your rock all the way across the fucking map and hitting somebody from your core and hitting somebody over by their core. I think is cool. You just can't do that in Pred. It has some weird gravity. Whereas Overprime, you could throw that rock however the fuck far you want to, which I think is awesome. Also, I love that in Overprime you could pick the rock up. And then if you leap on a target, it stuns them. Like, he jumps up with the rock in his hand and smashes the rock on their head, which is cool as fuck. So you get a little more functionality with his rock. Also in Pred, I understand this decision, but you can't just hold the rock and carry it around like a fucking piece of luggage. Whereas in Overprime, it's just it used to do that in Paragon all the time. Is you just pick the rock up and mean bug people until they left. Like you didn't even throw that shit. You can't in Pred it times out. In Pred it times out, yeah. I just think they both have the rumble. They both have the leap. They both have basically the same kit. They both actually have passives. Like Overprime doesn't have a lot of passives. He's one of the few that has a bit of a passive where he gets a little bit more regen in the jungle. They both have the same ultimate. Basically, I think the ultimate in Overprime also adds that he has some AoE damage around him during his ultimate, and then they both get instant rock throws and increased abilities and shit. But yeah, definitely Overprime for me, mainly because you could throw that rock for fucking ever, and you get that added functionality and be able to leap with the rock. Even though I don't think it's probably the best idea to leap with the rock, it's still cool that you can do that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think in terms of accomplishing what he's in there to do, Overprime does it better in 99% of cases.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh, man down. Jelly just left us. So if you were looking forward to what Jelly had to say, then okay, he's coming back.
Gotta love random Discord resets. I didn't even have to open it again.
That's wild.
Rampage,
just start over. Yeah.
I think Rampage and Overprime is just better. He, in terms of what Rampage is there to do, he's there to stun people and he's there to just face tank the entire enemy team to allow his team to do what they need to do. And in Predecessor, when he's trying to face tank late game, he just dies. And in Overprime, when he tries to face tank late game, he just doesn't die.
He just never dies, yeah.
And I think that is way more fun. I think the rock is more fun to use in Overprime. I think the fact that his ultimate gives him AoE damage around him is really nice. It's a little quality of life thing to help him be a little more scary. You're not just going to have someone that just stands there and just beats on him, right? They actually have to play smart around his ultimate now, which I think is beneficial. But yeah, overall, I would say Overprime on this one for sure.
I think he gets accidentally countered in Overprime a little bit because there's so many abilities that have baked in
anti-heal
in Overprime. Like Dark Tide from Countess has anti-heal. So I was facing a Rampage offlane today because I've been playing a lot of Countess offlane in Overprime. And yeah, every time he would ult, I would just hit him with the E, and it was like his ult didn't exist. And it was nice. I didn't have to waste an item slot on anti-heal to counter Rampage.
Yeah, his ult didn't exist, but he still was tanky, right? Like that's the thing is like even real easy said it's almost like tanks don't exist in Pred right now. What Rampage's entire existence in Paragon was to be him and Steel were to be the tank, right? If you needed a tank, those two should be first in line for what a tank looks like. And in Predecessor, they're not. Like tanks just don't exist.
It's like bruisers.
So Rampage's existence is to be a tank. Meh.
I agree.
I don't know. I think it's cooler in Overprime than Pred, but a lot of people disagree.
I think they're both fine for what they are. But that's also, again, keep in mind, I've not played nearly enough. Actually, I don't think I've played a single Rampage game in Pred. I've just played against him.
I've played him in Pred. He feels good. Everything feels good in Pred. It just feels soft to me. Like I like that there's a little more crispness in Overprime, especially with melee hits. But looks like chat is saying Predecessor, but not by a huge margin. Yeah, we've got 50 for Predecessor, 37 for Overprime, both equal 12%. Let's move on to the next one, which is Sevarog.
Ooh,
I think Sevarog feels fucking amazing in both games, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
All right, you guys go ahead and talk. I'm going to set up the poll.
Oh boy, so I think I fear Sevarog in Predecessor more than I do in Overprime, and I think part of that is because he can get his stacks off of all of his abilities now. And he gets his stacks, if he's good, he's getting his stacks super fucking fast in Predecessor, and he becomes a tanky monster to deal with. But they're both good. Like, I've been going up against a lot more Sevarog's offlane in Overprime, and they're surprisingly difficult to deal with when they know what they're doing. They get especially with his right click takes him so fucking far away. Like he gets so much distance on that thing, and then you add the possibility of a blink on top of it. It's insane. He can be one of the slipperiest, if not one of the most in the game. I think in Overprime. Especially since lanes are shorter and you have travel time or the ability to go into it. So I think they're both pretty equal, but I definitely fear a Sevarog and Predecessor more than I do in Overprime, because those guys are fucking rough and they set up ganks so well. The CC is strong, like, because like in Overprime, like you can try and make them choose between like farming or like using their stun, whereas like you can bounce around and how you want to do it. Like, oh, you want to fight me and my minions, like, you know, that's fine. Whereas in Predecessor, he can kill the minions and get the stacks, plus come up and then Q you. It gets a heal off of his Q that does it's nuts. So I'm gonna change my mind. I think Predecessor, he's slightly better, but not by a lot. There you go.
Okay.
I don't know how he is in jungle. Is he garbage in jungle for both?
I mean, he's not great in jungle for Overprime by any stretch of the imagination, but he's playable. I would say he's better than Overprime's jungle Sev in Pred, but not, again, I wouldn't play him over almost any other jungler by any stretch.
I think he's really good in both games. He has basically the same kit in both games. They both function really well. Yeah, it like you said, it's easier to get stacks in Pred, but it takes less stacks.
Nope,
and we lost Jelly again. But it takes less stacks in Overprime to get him fully stacked, so it kind of evens out. They're both fucking fantastic. I really like both in both games, so I'm going with both this time. I'm going to fucking cop out again, pussy out, and just say both instead of picking one over the other.
I don't think it's a cop out, to be honest. I mean, I think both studios did justice in the fact that they kept Sevarog relatively to his core of what people remember him being, which is not a bad thing. Like he's got one of those ultimates that is like, you know, in solo lanes or like, you know, in situations you can use the, you know, right click and then knock him into their turret, which is always a threat. You always, if you're playing against Sevarog, you always got to keep that in the back of your mind. He might get past you and fucking knock you back. And especially with Predecessor, everybody having a blink, you know what I mean? He can blink behind you and fucking ultimate you and then stun you under the turret and you're just fucked. Overprime, he doesn't have he does have a blink, but it's a little bit different. It doesn't function quite the same way as it does in Pred. But yeah, I think the other thing too is like skin wise is another thing. Like the fact that as you get stacks in Overprime, his shoulders start to get bigger and bigger and bigger. I think that's pretty neat, you know, from a thematic look. But yeah,
It's the same way in Pred though.
Did they? I didn't notice it, so maybe I'm wrong.
Really? Yeah.
I didn't notice it. No,
he gets full spikes in Pred. He never gets full spikes in Overprime.
Okay, well there you go, boys. My bad. I didn't know that. Yeah. I wasn't paying that close attention. But I've had in Pred Sevarogs kick my ass more than I've had them kick my ass in Overprime. So,
all right. Looks like chat has chosen Overprime.
Okay.
Probably not by a large margin here.
Okay.
It was
take him in
Overprime 35%, both equal 35%, and Predecessor 29%.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think both equal.
I think the other thing is too is because in Overprime, the 80 carries can actually shred through a Sevarog and shred through other tanks if they itemize well and get ahead enough. In Predecessor, it feels like I think if he gets far enough ahead, because carries are kind of weak in general or they don't feel that strong. I don't think he gets to full like tank status like he does in others. He definitely still is like a disruptor and can do all kinds of problems for people in the back line.
Yeah.
And really fuck with the carries. Whereas I think in Overprime, the carry can still like kite him out, do different things because of the way their kits are set up. It just allows for it, you know, having Twin Blast and all those guys like to be able to really kite around a Sevarog. I don't know. I can't stack with Sev confirmed. Actually, in my first game of Sevarog in Predecessor, Mangoose was giving me a really, really hard time because I did not get the full stacks. Because I didn't know what I was doing, and I was to my credit,
I forgot about that. I was like, motherfucker, we're 20 minutes in. Where's your spikes?
Why don't you have all your spikes? What are you at stack like?
I forgot about that.
To my, I want to say this. I was also playing on like 120 ping, so I was struggling to get the last hits as good as I should have. I got better at it. I did get better at it, but it took me a little bit. Now that I play on the West Coast and I get 4 ping or 0 ping, sometimes it seems like I think their servers are literally right next to my apartment. Because I have no problem getting stacks. But anyway, yeah, I did struggle the first game to get stacks and oh, Jelly's back. Sevarog.
Oh, too bad, Jelly. We're already moving to Sparrow.
Oh, never mind. OB carries are strong. Yeah, they're crazy. Big truths.
All right. So Sparrow, what do you guys think of her? I mean, you guys know who I'm going to pick because, like I said, I think Overprime ADCs just feel way, way better to play than Pred's ADCs, but that's just me.
I will immediately agree, except I think that her ultimate in Overprime sucks.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's a garbage ultimate. She basically has to get almost in melee range to be able to use it efficiently. Not that it doesn't chunk when she does, but it just puts her into such a terrible situation. So from that perspective, I don't like it. I'm not saying that I give it to Predecessor, because I don't think she feels all that much better, but her ultimate is a little bit better. The rest of it's not that great. I think carries in general just all across the board feel better in Overprime. And if you're a guy who's struggles to land her right clicks, they give her a buff, and so you don't need to land right clicks anymore. It still helps if you can, right? But you don't have to scale them. You can just max her her attack hyper speed and just do fucking insane damage with the itemization.
Also gives her movement speed, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, like, it feels like in, and this is going back a little bit to Paragon, Fault, and now Predecessor. Right click is her bread and butter. You really need to be good at, I think, landing those. And in Overprime, while it's still beneficial to be able to do so, I don't think it's like as necessary after the most recent buffs. Beforehand, when I think she was the worst carry in the last test. They've upped her viability, and I think she's actually one of the stronger AD carries in the right hands.
And just to be clear with chat here, I'm not saying that ADCs are weak in either game. I just think they feel better in Pred to play because you do get the crit sounds, you get better sound engineering, you get better hit indication. It just feels like you're actually hitting something in Overprime, whereas Pred. But like I said, they have, especially with Sparrow, have done some better sound design with her since the game came out, so she feels infinitely better to play in Predecessor now than she used to. But I think just ADCs in general, I just prefer the ADC hits and hit sounds and everything in Overprime to Pred. But that's just me. I kind of like that as hit scan. I don't know how they're going to do Yin since they have hit scan basic attacks in Overprime, but
I don't know.
I guess
they might have to come up with something else, right?
Burn that bridge when we get there, I guess.
So listen, chat. Just because I think that they're weak doesn't mean you have to think they're weak. Okay, I've played a decent amount of Pred. I might not have played as much Pred as you guys, but I've not felt like it's usually my carries winning the games because of how good they are. It's almost always through jungle and the team coordination coming together better in Predecessor. I don't think it's because carries are hard carrying and doing the most amount of damage in the team fights. I just don't think that's the case. I think that they might get set up to do well, and that if they get far enough in the game where they just have items and they start to melt people, but that's going to happen in both games. In Overprime, from level 1, some of these carries are ridiculously strong. You cannot underestimate them. And so I think, but whereas in Predecessor, I just don't feel that scared of a Drongo. Sorry, bud. Okay, like I don't feel that scared of a Murdoch level 1. I must play with bad carries, maybe. I don't know, dude. I'll just log in and queue up just like everybody else, bro. What do you want from me?
Jack, I 100% agree, and I do believe Ace said that they are getting a better sound guy, so that'll be nice.
Listen, I'm not going to get in an argument with you guys about, you guys are obviously all Predecessor fanboys, and that's fine. You guys can enjoy whatever game you want. I'm not sitting here trying to change your mind, but I also don't want to be attacked because I think one thing and you guys disagree. Don't make me feel like I'm stupid because I have a different opinion than you.
And I don't think we're really arguing the efficacy here, and more the implementation.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if we're going to go efficacy, I definitely would have given Gadget to Overprime, but I gave Gadget to Pred because I think Pred implemented her better.
Stream's been going for 106 minutes.
Over
an hour now.
Yeah, I think she's cool in both games. I think she feels much better in Pred with the new sound design, but I definitely give this one to Overprime. Looks like chat has given this one to Predecessor, but not by a whole lot. We got Pred at 43, Overprime at 37, both equal at 18%. And
I'm not defensive on you guys having an opinion. I get defensive if I feel like you guys are attacking my opinion because it goes against yours. I don't have a problem going back and forth and you guys being able to state your thoughts and feelings on something. I'm not a Predecessor hater. I don't think the Predecessor is a bad game. It's fine for people who really enjoy it. I just don't want to be attacked because I think something differently than you do. Because I'm not attacking you guys. I'm not sitting here telling you guys you don't know what you're talking about because you have a different opinion than me. I'm not going to ever claim to be the most expert person. You know what I mean? So that's all I'm asking is just be respectful of the fact that I might have a different opinion. And when I disagree with you, you're going to flame me versus when I agree with you, you think my opinion's great. Get out of here, dude. Be better.
All right, Steel. Let's go with Steel in who did Steel better, Predecessor or Overprime?
Predecessor.
Yeah, I'm giving this the Predecessor 100%.
Completely agree.
Hey, Jelly's back. There he is.
His passive getting those shield stacks, dude. Again, I play a lot of solo lane. It's so deceptive on how long he will survive with those stacks. It's so crazy. It's weird. He feels like the Steel that I've always wanted. You know what I mean? Like I still think he's really good in Overprime, especially in the support. I think he's actually one of the stronger supports for being able to keep the carry meta at bay when it was stronger than it is currently, especially with his E. But both feel good. I just think in Predecessor with that. He has more viability in multiple roles and has a bigger impact, which is a lot of fun. So I'm giving it to Predecessor personally.
Steel right click in Predecessor is a stun, and that's a win.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. The bonk, it just looks like it's gonna stun, right? Like, why is that a slow? Like, give him something different. I don't know if you guys remember way back in the day before Netmarble picked up Overprime, they had Steel. He had a slow on his right click, but his right click was a Spartan kick to the chest. It wasn't the shield bug. They gave him like a completely new animation, which was kind of cool. And but I still felt that should have I think that was a knockback and a slow is what that was. But I still think that should have stunned. It just the bonk I think is just so much cooler to have. And then again, like you said, his passive Jedi in Predecessor is way cooler, where you get shielding every time you use an ability.
Yep.
I like that you get to push people back with his Q in Predecessor, whereas Overprime, it knocks people up, which can interrupt your aim for stuff, and you don't know when Steel's going to charge through somebody, so you throw an ability at them and you fucking miss them because Steel charged through them. I haven't seen it happen since the CBTs, but I'm sure it does. People getting stuck on minion heads and stuff. Have you guys seen anybody get stuck on a minion's head?
Not recently, but yeah. I mean, Mangoose, you the amount of times in previous CBTs that you would play Steel and knock him out of my stuff every time. I'm like, Mangoose, stop doing Mangoose, stop doing that, Mangoose. Yeah, it's Steel way better in Predecessor in almost every single way. The one thing that I'll give to Overprime for Steel is his shield is curved, and I think that is a way more natural feeling ability. Having his throwable shield be a little curved on the outer edges than it is it being just a flat wall somewhere.
Yeah, I do like the curve they give it. That shield too in Overprime.
So strong.
Everybody's like, well, just fucking walk around it, dumbass. You have to take the time to walk around it. Like, it still slows you, even if you don't ever touch the shield. It still slows you and prevents you from chasing into that team fight. His shield is really effective in Overprime. It's pretty effective in Predecessor too, just not as effective as it is in Overprime. But again, we're not arguing efficacy. We're talking about implementation. And I think he's just implemented so much better in Predecessor than Overprime. Just again, I want a little more visceral action on those basic attacks. You do feel a little slow with his hits. You feel a little soft. So I think we're all in concurrence here. Steel goes to Predecessor.
Again, I don't think he's bad in Overprime. I just think he's better in Predecessor.
We're going to be ending on a spicy one here, as Windu the Mace would say.
Ooh.
The Fae. Bears. So she is pretty different between not massively different, but she's fairly different between the two implementations of the Fae. You definitely play her, I think, a little differently in both games. Medkit, what's up, man? So let me do the poll.
I think the Fae is in an interesting spot in both games. and has very different playstyles despite having very similar abilities. The AoE on her E in Overprime versus the skill shot E in Predecessor, the movement speed buff on her vines in Overprime. Overall, I think I would probably put her as a mix between, as like fine in both. I don't know that one of them necessarily sticks out better or worse than the other. I think they're just slightly different in the way that they play, but they're both probably just as effective.
It's like situationally dependent on which one's better, you know? So if you guys don't know, so her Q, her Bramble Patch in Predecessor works just like it did back in the old Paragon days, where it's a slow, and they take one instance of the slow. When they walk through it, they get one instance of damage. If they walk back through it, they're not reslowed, they're not redamaged. But in Overprime, it gives you a speed boost, which makes zero sense thematically why you would get a speed boost by running through a bramble. I guess like ouch, 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 and you run faster, but but it gives you a speed boost in Overprime, and but what does make sense is it persists. Like if you throw it into the middle of a minion wave, it will constantly deal ticks of damage, which is kind of cool. Her right click just in Predecessor, you know, it deals ticks of damage, winding up to 50% of the damage is dealt at the end when it explodes. Does the same thing in Overprime, but it slows in Overprime. So if people walk through it, they're slowed. That's where your slow comes from. And then her E, it's just a straight line skill shot. It builds up more damage the more you hit within a certain time period in Predecessor. In Overprime, it's a lock-on straight line shot, and it deals AoE damage, so you could clear out minions with her E. So, and then in both of them, she has the fly trap. In Predecessor, it actually stuns people for a small amount of time whenever they get pulled in. So if you do throw that your flower on top and then suck them into that flower, they do take that end tick of the flower damage, which is pretty cool. It's just so situational with her over which one's better. Overprime's Faye is better at clearing objectives, like helping the team clear objectives and helping and just straight clearing and pushing a lane, because she does have that ticking damage on her Bramble Patch. I'm going to go ahead and give this one to Overprime, because I feel that her nettles in Pred are a little too slow. I haven't talked to a single person of varying skill levels that say that shit is easy to land. It shouldn't be that hard to land for the short range that it has. Either increase the range and keep it as slow as it is, or so that I don't have to, you know, like I could poke a Gideon that's poking at me, or increase how fast it goes out so that I can almost guarantee that I can hit it. I don't know. That's a weird one. Like you have to get, but with Overprime, you have to get like damn near up in their face to use her E, which is kind of nutty, even though it is a lock one. I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy. You like Kid Death says he likes that movement speed ability. That movement speed ability is fun. She's a really fun support in Overprime. I don't think you could really support with her as well in a Predecessor as you can with her in Overprime, but
I mean, her wave clear is just nuts, and I think in both games, right? But like, I don't know. I mean, for me, I think the speed up as like not only playing it, but as a teammate, that speed up in team fights is so sick. And her ability to, similar to Gadget, be able to control team fights is also insane. I could see an argument for both, where people feel like both games got her right for different reasons, and I just think, I don't know, man. I think I like the change that Overprime did to making her her E AoE. I think it was a huge quality of life improvement for her in lane against some of the other stronger mages that were in the last test. So this gave her a lot more agency. And then in off lane, or even as a support, it gives her an insanely strong poking tool, right? Because it's almost impossible to miss, and you get it back for free. You get free mana for every time you hit it on a champion, so it's like you might as well throw it. Fuck it. I think it's great, but I can see an argument for both in each game, because she's fun in both.
She fucking slaps in both games.
Yeah,
she absolutely fucking slaps.
Yep. And I mean, there's an argument to be made too that in Pred, especially given how important it is to control jungle, that having somebody like the Fae who can really, she does so well in corridors and in places where people can't escape, right? Like, and that's Predecessor. We talk about the jungle, like, you know, there's a lot of spots where people can get really kind of closed off and locked in, and she excels in those spots. And so her team fighting is really, really, really good, especially in the hands of somebody who knows what she's doing. Not that you can't do the same thing in Overprime, but there's a lot more space in Overprime, so you can kind of move around and get away in some of the flats in Overprime, you know, whereas in Predecessor things can get a little bit tight. Yeah. Is my mic fucking up? I apologize, guys. We're almost done, so you won't have to deal with it for much longer.
Yeah, we're damn near done. What's your verdict on the Fae, Jelly?
I think she's in the middle for me. I don't think she's sticks out in one game versus the other. Again, better or worse by a large margin to call it. I think it's pretty sixes across the board.
There you go.
Yeah, right on. And chat is mainly voting for Predecessor.
That's fine.
But in the poll, close one though. Predecessor 45, Overprime 41, both equal 12%. All right, and that's it. That's all of them. That's gonna close it out. I came up with this idea. I know I was sticking a dick in a wasp nest by doing this video comparing the heroes between the two games because people get so easily butthurt. But chat was perfectly fine tonight. Like it wasn't nobody getting out of line and shit. I was expecting a little more spiciness, but didn't really happen, so that's cool. Hopefully we'll see what happens in the comments. That'll be fun to read. But
sure.
Yeah, just definitely my advice too is play both games. If you decided that you like Predecessor way better, then stick with Predecessor. If you decided Overprime's way better, stick with Overprime. Personally, I'm going to be playing both. I think they both have their merits and they can both be fun in the right situations. Freeja, I gotcha. Yeah, it does. The slow does reapply on Bramble Patch if you walk back through it. In Pred, I thought I had tested that on Steel and it didn't work, but I guess not. I'll trust you over myself on this one. But yeah, it was a good time. Jelly, any final comments?
No, I think it's I mean, for us, right, chat notwithstanding, I think we were split about 50-50 for the vast majority of heroes, that some were better in one, and I think a lot of them were right, they were only better for like this reason or only better for that reason. It wasn't just like a flat out like they're just better in this one for the vast majority. I think that's a good thing to see for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Jedi?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I've played both games. It is interesting to see the different choices that both have gone for when you start looking at, they're using the same assets overall, like at least the theme of the assets. I like that there's deviation from them. I like that if I go and play Predecessor, I'm going to get a different game than what I get in Overprime, and that's fine. I like that. Like I said about Grux, I like playing Grux in both games. Sometimes I really just miss Predecessor Grux. I would think about it, man, if only he did these things in Overprime, and I think that for a lot of these champions. So I think chat was obviously a little bit heavy favored towards one over the other, but I like that we as FTM crew continue to still find value and beauty in both, and it's pretty cool. I think I was surprised at how many we as the three of us felt like it was a tie almost between each kit. I thought for sure we were going to have a lot more dissent amongst ourselves, let alone with chat. So it was really cool that we all felt the same way.
I agree, Kid Death. And El Draco King, that would have been a fantastic idea, and I wish I would have thought of it. But that is going to close things out for tonight. I appreciate everybody coming out to watch this live, and I appreciate anybody that's watching this in the video. Let's get some mangeese up in the chat if you're still around. I much appreciate everybody coming out tonight. This was kind of a spur of the moment thing, so thank you so much to Jelly Knees and the Viking Jedi for accommodating me on this crazy idea that I had. And I was
excited for it. I can't wait for us to do a tier list next.
Yeah, we will be doing some tier lists in the future for both games. I don't know. I think it's fun when we do tier lists because we have such a weird range of what we play.
Yes.
Like, I'm straight up support mid, and then Jelly's jungle, a bit of ADC, some off lane. You're like off lane, a bit of ADC, and yeah, it's always fun.
It is.
Yeah, much appreciate everybody coming out, but that is going to do it for tonight.